Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face while you're sleeping. Since the beginning of time, civilizations have come and gone. Some have flourished, while others have not been so fortunate. Today, we have compiled for you a list of the 10 largest abandoned cities in the world, so keep watching till the very end. Number 10. Wittenoom, Australia. Wittenoom was built in 1946 in Western Australia for the purpose of mining. The gorge nearby was filled to the brim with blue asbestos, which used to be an important raw building material during the beginning of the 20th century. By the early 1950s, Wittenoom was the largest town in the Pilbara region. Due to the increase in health concerns, a decrease in demand for asbestos eventually led to the mine closing in 1966, and most of the residents moved out to look for other work, according to several reports. Wittenoom was officially closed in 2007, and the Australian government took steps to limit access to the former mining town and removed it from all official maps. Due to the nature of the mining that took place there, asbestos fibers are still found in the topsoil and air around Wittenoom, making it dangerous to spend too much time in the town. At present, there are only 3 permanent residents of Wittenoom that are going against the Australian government.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
Number 9. KOLMANSKOP, Namibia. KOLMANSKOP has been a deserted town since 1954, but that was not always the case, as during the beginning of the 20th century, it was a small but successful diamond mining town. The chances of discovering a diamond in the area in 1908 drew loads of German miners to the area. In the desert, they built a village and lived a life of ease and luxury as a result of their discoveries. A casino, bowling alley, and even a theater were built. The residents of the town lived a lavish lifestyle, but the success of the town was meant to be short-lived. Post-World War I, the diamond market dramatically dipped, and the town declined until it was finally abandoned less than 50 years after being established. Today, Namibia has transformed the area into a pretty popular tourist destination, and some buildings have been expertly restored. Other parts of the town have sunken into the desert, and you have to make your way through thick layers of sand to enter the buildings. Number 8. Varosha, Cyprus. Cyprus is best referred to as a famous holiday destination for Europeans, and therefore the district of Varosha in Famagusta was once among the island's hottest resorts within the early 1970s. However, all that took a turn when Turkish forces invaded in 1974 and claimed the northern part of the island. Clashes on the streets of Famagusta led to the residents quickly fleeing the conflict, and Varosha was abandoned, eventually falling just on the Turkish side of the border. Turkish forces fenced it off, and not a single thing has changed there in over 40 years. Presently, Turkish soldiers still reportedly have orders to shoot on sight if anyone tries to enter the area. Nobody lives there, and understandably, nobody goes there. This is a typical case of nature reclaiming land once inhabited by people. There are even a variety of sea turtles that have decided to nest there. There have been sporadic attempts to resolve things, but so much time has passed since that it seems unlikely that any of the original residents will ever return to their previous homes. As of 2020, there are reports that Turkey is planning on opening up Varosha again and allowing people to settle there. This could be a highly controversial idea and could cause increased tensions between Greece and Turkey, particularly on the island of Cyprus. Number 7. CRACO, Italy. CRACO in southern Italy is probably the most scenic abandoned city ever and was deserted back in 1963 due to the threat of landslides. The town was built by monks and previously has a history that dates back to around 1,000 years and used to be a site of religious significance with loads of ancient churches. It also hosted various important festivals throughout the year that would attract lots of pilgrims. Even now, people still live in CRACO as it is being protected by the World Monuments Fund. So unlike other ghost towns that have been left to ruin, some steps are being taken to preserve it. Number 6. Plymouth, Montserrat. The Caribbean island of Montserrat was never the same since the Soufriere Hills volcano began erupting in 1995. The volcano, which had formerly been dormant for more than a century, has remained active ever since then, although eruptions have been a lot less in recent years. When the first eruption took place, the capital Plymouth was devastated by deadly pyroclastic flows and was eventually entirely evacuated in 1997. Roughly two-thirds of the island's population has since been forced to migrate, although the northern part of the island remains safe enough to live in. As of now, Plymouth is now buried in volcanic ash and is still considered far too dangerous for anyone to live in. There are tours these days that let tourists into Plymouth, although you need a guide with a special permit to take you into the exclusion zone to visit the capital. Number 5. Pripyat, Ukraine. Pripyat was founded in 1970, mainly to provide housing for workers at the Chernobyl nuclear plant. However, its existence was to be shockingly short-lived. The population had risen to around 50,000 by 1986, when disaster struck the Soviet town. On the 26th of April, fire and explosions at the nuclear plant resulted in a radioactive disaster in a way that had never been seen before. 31 people died in the accident itself, but a lot more than that have succumbed since then as a result of the after-effects of the disaster. Pripyat is located in northern Ukraine, just a couple miles south of Belarus, which has sadly had to be at the forefront of the after-effects of the disaster. The actual number of cancers and other resulting deformities are still being accounted for. Nobody lives in Pripyat anymore. Indeed, it's now been abandoned for a longer time than the 16 years it had been inhabited. Number 4. AGDAM, Azerbaijan. The city of AGDAM in Azerbaijan is possibly the most shocking yet one of the lesser-known abandoned towns. It had once been home to over 100,000 people, but fell into a state of ruin during the bloody Nagorno-Karabakh War, when it had been occupied by Armenian forces. Because the city fell in 1993, almost the entire town's population was forced to escape to the east, and although it was eventually returned to Azerbaijani rule, there was so little of it left that only a few residents returned, and instead settled in other parts of the country. The city today resembles a huge derelict building. In other words, it's a really depressing place. The Agdam Mosque is about the sole thing still standing, although even that's in a fairly dire condition. The war has long ago finished, but it seems extremely unlikely that they or any of the evacuees will ever permanently return to their former home. Number 3. Oradour-sur-Glane. In the afternoon of the 10th of June in 1944, the village of Oradour-sur-Glane fell victim to one of the most gruesome massacres in French civilization during World War II. It is believed to have been an act of revenge for the town's alleged support of the French resistance. A Nazi detachment gathered and brutally murdered 642 of its residents and burned almost all their houses down. The men were taken to barns and machine-gunned, and the women and children were locked in a church and killed with explosives and incendiary grenades. Only a few people managed to survive by playing dead and later escaping to the forest. French President Charles de Gaulle gave orders that the ruins of the old town should be untouched in memory of the victims. And with that, it is now time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber. If you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on future videos. Number 2. The city pictured above is Hashima Island, which used to be a coal mining facility that opened during the late 19th century. This small island in southern Japan was home to over 5,000 workers in loads of multi-story apartment blocks. At its height, there were 12 round-trip boat services every day from the mainland to Hashima, which played an important role in the industrialization of Japan. However, the same old tale of the closing down of coal mines around this time is also the story of the island's decline. Since it served no other purpose, the island was abandoned in 1974 and was simply left to rot away. Most of Hashima is still off-limits, and only a small corner of the island is open to visitors. Number 1. Centralia, Pennsylvania. This is something that looks as though it was taken out of a horror flick. The coal fire beneath the town of Centralia, Pennsylvania, has been thriving since 1962 and may do so for 250 more years. An attempt to clean up the landfill led to the coal under the surface of this town being lit. Ever since the fire began burning, residents have gradually deserted their homes, fearing not only the fire under their feet, but sudden sinkholes and carbon monoxide poisoning. Eminent domain was utilized to gain control over majority of the homes, and the dozen or so remaining residents agreed to hand over their property to the government when they died. The state government condemned Centralia in 1992. Daring travelers still travel to Centralia, trying to walk along the cracked road that leads into town. And that concludes our list of the 10 largest abandoned cities in the world. Let us know in the comment section below which one of these you were terrified of the most. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon, and we will see you next time.